All right, today we're going to unlock a 2,500-year-old secret for getting unstuck. And it comes from an ancient text called the Cetokhilasutta. And, what's amazing is it's got this surprisingly sharp, super practical guide for a problem that feels so modern. So, let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? That sense that you are just spinning your wheels. You want to move forward. In your work, in your life, in your own personal growth, but it just feels like something is holding you back. You feel blocked, frustrated, just completely and totally stuck.
Well, it turns out you are definitely not the first person to feel this way. And what's wild is that this ancient teaching doesn't just, nod along and say, yeah, that's tough. No, it gets incredibly specific. It identifies not one, but 10 distinct reasons why our minds get completely gridlocked.
So, these are what the text calls the 10 mental deadlocks. You can think of them as the fundamental roadblocks that stop us from growing, from learning, and from really finding any sense of freedom. And the teaching breaks them down into two main categories.
Here they are in the original Pali language. The 5 Cetokhila, or obstacles of the mind, and the 5 Cetosavinu, which are the bondages of the mind. Now, these words are so important because how we translate them, well, it changes the entire game. Okay, so let's start with the standard translation, the one you'd find in a dictionary. For that first set of obstacles, when scholars first translated these texts, they came up with a very particular image.
The common translation for Cetokhila is mental wilderness, or barrenness of mind. And that makes sense, right? When you're stuck, it can feel like you're lost in a mental desert, a place where nothing can really grow. It feels kind of passive, like you're just directionless.
But what if that translation totally misses the real power of the original word? What if it's kind of weak? This is where we get to put on our linguistic detective hats and look beyond the dictionary, deep into the roots of the word itself.
Because see, language is more than just words in a book, right? It's about the pictures it paints in your head, the feeling it gives you. What if the original teachers were trying to give us a much more active, visceral, and frankly useful image for what it means to be stuck?
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is what's called a naruti, or a root analysis of the word. When we break down Cetokhila, we get two parts. Ceto, okay, that means mind or heart, we got that. But khila, this is the shocker. It doesn't mean wilderness at all. It means a stake, a post, a peg. Something sharp, solid, hammered into the ground.
And that difference is everything. Mental wilderness is vague, it's passive, you're just lost. But a mind stake is sharp, it's active. It is a specific object that is forcefully holding you in place. The problem isn't that you're wandering around, it's that you are literally pinned down.
So look, here is the big aha moment. This ancient wisdom isn't telling you that you're lost in some big, confusing landscape. It's telling you that your mind has been actively staked to the ground. And this changes everything, because you can't just wander out of a stake. You have to find it, and you have to pull it out.
So how does this actually play out? Well, the text doesn't just leave it at the metaphor. It gets super specific, identifying 5 distinct mind stakes, the forces that nail your mind in place and stop any real progress.
Let's run through them. First, there's doubt in your guide or teacher. Second, doubt in the teaching itself, the whole method you're following. Third, doubt in your community. Fourth, doubt in the actual training, the day-to-day work. And that fifth one, wow, that's a powerful one, anger and resentment toward your peers. You can feel how each one of those acts like a sharp stake, just holding you down. But that's only half the story. See, once you're staked down, there's a whole other set of obstacles that keep you bound there. The text calls these the Sita Sovanaiban Banda. So let's use that same deep dive translation method on this term.
So the standard translation is mind bondages. And hey, that's not bad. But the original Pali, it suggests something more like a thorough, downward binding. So to keep our visual metaphor going, let's think of them as mind ropes. If the stakes pin you in one spot, these are the ropes that tie you down to.
And here they are, the 5 ropes that bind you to those stakes. The first 3 are all about attachment that we haven't dealt with. Attachment to sensual pleasures, to the body, and to external forms and appearances. The 4th rope is indulgence, overeating and laziness. And the 5th one is tricky, it's subtle but so strong, doing all the work just to get some future reward, not for its own sake. Each one is a rope, tying you down.
So, we've got stakes that pin us and ropes that bind us. I know, sounds pretty bleak, but the text does not leave us there. It also gives us this beautiful and surprisingly gentle way to get free, and it's not about yanking and pulling with brute force.
And the solution it offers, it's just beautiful.
The Buddha compares liberation to a hen sitting on her eggs. Think about it. She doesn't force them open. Her job is just to provide consistent warmth and care. And if she does her part, the hatching, it just happens naturally from the inside out.
And that right there is the core message for getting unstuck. You don't rip the stakes out or snap the ropes in one violent go. You dissolve them. You overcome them with patient, warm, consistent practice. By just applying yourself steadily, day after day, the doubts, the angers, the attachments, they all naturally lose their power, just like a chick naturally breaks free from its shell when the time is right.
So that brings us to the final and most important question, because this isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's a practical diagnostic tool you can use right now. Looking at that list of stakes, doubt, anger, resentment, which one feels most present in your life? What is the very first stake you can start loosening with just a little patient, consistent warmth?